Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Havenwood, and I'm going to this is me on Amazon, and I'm going to be talking to you today about sales and the top 10 books that I read and have read for sales. So I'm a marketing and sales coach. This is my, my Amazon listing. I have a couple books out myself about dating, sexuality, as well as generating leads through podcasting. As well as really empowering women to go to the next level in their entrepreneurial life. Empower Guesting, which is one of my latest books, which is Insider Secrets to Profit from Being a Great Guest in Podcasting. So a couple things, and this is I also have a radio show called The Win and a podcast, been on a local TV. Hear me talking about really just helping people promote their business and their life. That's who I am. But the point of this video is to really talk to you and share with you about sales. Sales can be really scary. And part of my job as a marketing coach is to really empower my clients, right? Empower my clients to actually go to make money, make sales. I can't tell you how many times I have clients that have great products, great services. They're amazing coaches, authors, speakers. They have great services, but there's this thing called, oh, I'll just build a funnel and it will come. And sales is way harder than that. Sales really is a challenging business. It's simple, but it's challenging. It's not complicated, but it's challenging. So I wanted to share with you my top 10 books. This is actually a live link. I'm not sure how to get to it or whatnot from my page, but I want to start with my top one here, and that's this one. I'm going to see if I can click on it. Oh, cool. How to Master the Art of Selling. When I first started reading books, I started reading these kind of books when I was 19. Back then, they had these big, huge, these things called blockbusters. Remember those blockbuster movies? Well, there was a company, and I don't remember the name. It was a retail location where you'd walk in, and it would be all these cassettes of books, Audible basically nowadays. I would go in and I would grab books, and I had an old car, and I had a cassette tape, and I'd play Zig Ziglar and Tom Hopkins and many others. And Tom Hopkins' How to Master the Art of Selling was one of the first ones I read / listened to. It's been around, time tested. It's about persuasion, influence, sharing. Now, I had no idea that I would actually end up being in sales, actually, but I did. At the ripe young age of 25 years old, I decided that I wanted to be in sales, and I walked into a Southwestern Bell SBC global company at the age of 25 and said, hi, I want to be outside business-to-business sales. And it was quite an interesting story. I'll tell you that story in just a second. But I had no idea that I'd end up in sales, and now I'm a sales and marketing coach. But really, that's not where I thought I would be. Let's see. The next book I have on my list here is Spin Selling. This is just a really practical book on basically the systemization of sales. Sales is challenging. It's simple, and it's a system, right? There's three things. There's market, media, and message. So most of the time people come to me and they feel like they already know the media and how they're going to market their product and service, which they go, oh, the internet or online. And then I start focusing on their market and message. And usually they go, oh, well, I know my message. And then I start really focusing on, are you sure you know your message? And are you sure you have the right market? And is your market going to buy from you online? Believe it or not, a large percentage of sales today is done through handshakes, phone calls, communication, meetings, things like that. So all these books I'm showing you today are really time-tested principles. And the reason that is because I call it H to H. At the end of the day, we as human beings haven't changed that much. We haven't. I know people want us to believe that we have, but we have not changed that much. So these books I'm sharing with you today is really about understanding how human beings react, get triggered, why they buy, why they move away, why they say yes, why they say no, and then why you as a salesperson may or may not be resistant. And again, I have a master's degree in online marketing. My first online business was in 1999 that failed. My first successful business online was 2005. Between 2001 to 2005, I actually traveled the country and did over 450 events. I sold over approximately $10 million in products and services in that time. And when I was in Southwestern Bell Wireless, which I'll tell you that story how I got that, I actually ended up being number one in sales out of the entire country at the very young age of like 27, 28 years old. It was quite interesting. Now, no one gave me any sales training other than these books. These were my books training. Think and Grow Rich. I still have that book today sitting on my shelf. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It is actually the chapter 12, Sex Transmutation. That chapter in that book is the reason why I created Sexy Boss. Sexy Boss is basically about that chapter 12 in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It basically says the following. Sex transmutation is the energy of sexuality, which is energy, which is charismatic. When you see a man like a dapper 007, he walks into a room, we all call him charismatic. We're drawn to him. Someone who's we call high sexual energy. Doesn't mean they have more sex. It's they able to actually hone the energy. And that's what I call Sexy Boss. Sexy Boss is the woman who can own that energy in her, not stifle it, not push it down, but own it. And then the boss is where she owns all area of her life, right? So that's why I wrote that book, Sexy Boss. Okay, the next one is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I just recently saw a guy actually read this book. I was so thrilled by that. This book, I did the entire course at Dale Carnegie, changed my life. I can't explain to you other than the biggest takeaway from that book was people love talking about themselves, right? So focus on them. I use that one. Zig Ziglar. This is the one that I got that one day. And when I was 18 years old, I walk into this rented cassette store and I get my two little cassettes as Zig Ziglar closed the sale. And I put it in my car cassette player and I listened to him. He has such a beautiful voice. His voice is real Southern and I just love it. So I mean, that book is pretty powerful and it's still time-tested principles. Triggers. I had this book sitting on my shelf, signed by the author, Joe Sugarman. Joe Sugarman actually is the forward to my book, if you can see that at the very bottom. He's the forward to my book, Sexy Boss. So he's a really dear friend of mine. He has 2 books on this list. Triggers is 30 sales tools you can use to control the mind of your prospect to motivate, influence, persuade. He's truly the master of copywriting. And copywriting, all that is the art of sales and persuasion through words. So this book is just a must. Okay, The Greatest Salesman in the World. Wow. When I first read this book, I didn't get it. I was like 20 years old. I'm like, I don't get it. It's actually pretty spiritual. It has a spiritual connotation to it. But it shows how we as human beings haven't changed that much. It kind of has a time-tested principle within the book itself. It talks a lot about this person called Jesus and who he does and what he does and how he sells his message to the world. So it's pretty incredible and very spiritual. Pitch anything. I've not met this person. I've always wanted to meet him. Like I said, I traveled the country at one point, 50 weeks out of the year, living on my suitcase. And I made a living by pitching things. So I would go in front of a room of 100 people, or I'd be with a team doing this. And we either ate ramen noodles at night or we ate steak. And it was based on the fact of us walking to a room of strangers, having a conversation, pitching, and we either extracted or not extracted $3,000 out of their pocket, right? And if we didn't really eat that well that night. And if we did, we had steak. That's how that worked. So I think you're always pitching. Always pitching. Always, always. Exactly what to say. This is a newer book for me. I had a associate actually send me the book, believe it or not, and I fell in love with it. It is everything that I was taught from the front of the room and the back of the room in sales 101, like exactly what to say to move people from the fence over the fence, or move them from wherever they're at to the yes. It's all the words. And I wish I had read this book 2001. It would have saved me thousands of hours. So that book is actually pretty cool. The Adweek Copywriting Handbook by Joe Sugarman. Again, a powerful one. I have this here in my house, signed by him. Honestly, it's a handbook. It really is. Like when you're writing copy, when you're writing sales letters, it's what I go to get ideas, to get constructs, because copywriting is very psychological, but it's also very principle based, meaning time-tested principles that don't change. And he actually really lays it out so beautifully here. That's I don't think anyone else would have been able to do that. Joe Sugarman with Blue Blocker Sunglasses, one of my dearest friend. And again, he is a forwarder to my book. And then last but not least, scientific advertising. Claude Hopkins, he was around in the 50s in the advertising age. This is the old days when you wrote copy, Mad Men, when you wrote copy, you had to really make sure that it sold. People read it and it sold the product or service. And if it didn't, you were out of a job. So pretty powerful book, one of the top ones. This is in sales, so I might do another one on copywriting. So just want to wrap it up. My name is Heather Havenwood. Love to talk to you if you're interested in having a conversation with me and how I can help you increase your sales on your online. I have a master's degree in online marketing, and I help businesses, small businesses, local businesses, service-based businesses, help them with their sales and marketing, their market, their message, and their media. And that's constantly changing. Love to have a conversation with you. Go to callwithheather.com.